podcast. In today's episode, we're going to talk about what's required to get at least anywhere from 30 to 40 qualified calls scheduled every single day for your business. Now, if you operate online, if you're running ads, you might be in a season where you realize, oh my gosh, if only we could get more calls scheduled, and if only those calls were with qualified prospect, we could definitely scale our business, our revenue. That's a season where a lot of clients that I speak with, a lot of business owner, founder I speak with, find themselves in, and they reach out and they're like, okay, how can you actually make this happen? We've tried and we keep on hitting a bottleneck that just prevent us from going to the next level. So if that's you, this episode is perfect for you, because I'm going to break down the 4 key pillars that we always run our client through, we always put in place whenever we launch the advertising strategy, whether that's on Facebook, on Meta, on YouTube, Google, to make sure that they are getting anywhere from 30 to 40, sometimes even 50 calls scheduled that are qualified every single day with their team. Now, if it's the first time you come across my content, my name is Joly Tematio, and I've spent the past half a decade, working with founders, business owners, really helping them through my agency, Dragon Consulting, scale to $500,000 a month and even more, using primarily paid media advertising. So that's literally what I do all day, every day for our clients. And what makes what we do very different is that we don't just allow you to scale for the scale of scaling. We allow you to really scale by getting your message, by turning your message really into a movement, and by putting that message in front of your ideal clients. So you end up growing your business by serving clients that you are deeply in love with, which is amazing. And one of the biggest feedback that we typically get from clients is that working with us allow them to really fall back in love with their marketing and with their business, because typically as a founder, what tends to happen often is that you start the business because you want to have freedom, you want to have a bigger impact, right? And as you start and as you scale, it becomes like every single day when you wake up, you are putting off fires, and it seems like you have to do 1,000 different things just for the business to keep on growing. And typically, no matter what you do, you get to a season or to a stage where you just feel like you are spinning your wheels. You are doing more, you're putting more input in the system, but surprisingly, there's just a plateau, there's just a ceiling that you can't seem to break through. And what most founders realize when you start working together is that it's not about doing more. They get to actually do way less, but see their business explode, which is absolutely fantastic. So today's gonna be one of those episodes where I share with you 4 pillars, which are going to allow you to do less in your business, but still see that growth. And that, actually targeted growth that's going to allow you to take a step back and focus on other things that you actually enjoy. It might be writing your next book, or hosting your next events, or just taking your family on a fun trip, whatever the case might be for you. Hopefully these are going to serve you really well, because they have for every single one of our clients. So I've got my notes to make sure that I'm straight to the point. And without any further ado, the first thing that you want to have in mind when it comes to actually scaling your volume of appointments is understanding the math. So I have a background in data science, so that's what I did for 4 years before becoming an agency owner. And I always go back to the math, because marketing for me is nothing else but psychology and math, right? And when I say understanding the math, is if you want to get to 50 or to 30, 40 call schedule on a daily basis, even 50 call schedule on a daily basis, you want to realize that you need to have at least 60 call schedule in a day. Why? Because not every single person that's going to schedule a call with you is going to show up for the call, right? So you want to account for that 20% of no show. So by having 60 call schedule, you make it unreasonable not to have at least 30 to 40 calls that actually happen on a daily basis in your business. So what we typically do, once you understand, okay, this is how many calls booked I need, the next step is really understanding, okay, how much is that going to look like in terms of investment, right? Because if you want to generate that volume, how much are you going to need to invest in your marketing? Now, whenever a client comes on board, we do what we call financial modeling, and that really allows them to have a clear understanding of what's going to be required for them to hit whatever goal they have. So it might look something like this. I'm just going to share my screen. So if you're watching the videos, you're going to get to see our financial models. Otherwise, this might be a little bit tricky. But what it looks like is really we look at their goal in terms of, okay, how much money do they want to generate with their paid media strategy? And once you have a goal, we then reverse engineer, okay, if you want to achieve, for instance, this client wanted to have a $500,000 month, right? How, in terms of call schedule, how is that going to look like? So if we know that the a call schedule, and so we have some KPIs here. So we have number of calls scheduled that's gonna need to happen. Oh, let me just show you this sheet instead. Yeah, so for instance, here you have some KPIs that we need to look at. So we need to have, okay, how many calls scheduled are going to happen, and what's the show rate that the company is having, and how can we improve that show rate? What's the closing ratio of the sales team or the founder if they're the one taking the call? What's the upsell rate if the person buys the initial product? And having those KPI in mind and understanding, okay, what's within KPIs, what's out of KPIs, really allow us to reverse engineer and understand, okay, if we want to achieve this level of revenue, this is how much we're gonna need to spend on marketing. One of the biggest mistakes which I see happen by founders is that they have a goal, they have a lofty goal of, okay, I want to make $200,000 this month. I want to make $400,000 this month. I want to make $1,000,000 this month, right? Which is absolutely possible, but then they're not aware of what's going to be required to get to that level of revenue. You can't be in a season where you want to spend, you know, $30,000 on ads, for instance, and expect to make on the back end $500,000. You need to adjust your expectation and your timeline depends on how much you are spending. So if we go and if we assume here that you're gonna have an average of anywhere from $100 to $200 per call scheduled. So if I share my screen to show how the math is going to look like, because that's really going to empower you when you're working with an agency to guide them really toward what you want to achieve, right? So our goal is to have between 30 to 40 call schedules, right? And I mean, 40 call that actually happen. So 40 call that taken by our team. That's going to look like, if we assume an 80% show rate, it means we going to need to have anywhere from 50 to 60 call that are actually scheduled. So this is going to be 50 to 60 call that are scheduled, because you always want to have that buffer. And then if we now assume our cost per call booked to be anywhere from $100 to $200. Oops. So this is going to be between $100 and $200, right? So this means that our daily ad budget needs to be anywhere from 5,000 to 12,000 a day. And so on a monthly basis, so if we do this times 30, we are gonna need right. So this is a month. Now, if we even go further, now assuming that we have this number of calls scheduled and we have an average closing ratio of, let's say our team is just average and they close at 30%. Typically, that's where we like our clients to be, at least as a minimum. So this will be our closing ratio, 30%. So which means that if our team is taking 30 to 40 calls a month and they work, let's just say they work 5 days a week, that's going to be, so they work like 20-day month. That's going to be monthly call taken by the team is going to be anywhere from 600 to 800 calls. So if they have a closing ratio of 30%, it means that out of this call taken, they're going to have a new client enroll anywhere from, taking the calculator to be sure. So this is going to be 180 Okay. And so if you are selling your offer, let's say that you are selling your offer for $10,000 and they collect like 50, they collect 5,000 upfront and 5,000 afterwards. So let's just say the cash collected for that thing, for that month specifically, if it's 5,000, right, that they take on the call when they close, you are going to make, because that's the entire mat that you want to have, so that's going to be 1,800 times 5,000. So you're going to be at 900K. And or 1.2 million, right? So this is if we look at times this and times this, okay? So if they close 240 units at 5K upfront, that's how much you're gonna have in terms of cash collected. So you will have invested. Let's just look at the 900K, right? So you will have invested 150K on paid media, on YouTube ad, Facebook ad, or what have you, and you will have made on the back end 900K upfront. That's assume that you're gonna have another 900K coming on the back end. So that's like 1.8 million that you'll have made. So if we were to look at the ROI upfront, as you are getting this cash, that will look like 6x ROI. So this will be $900,000 divided by 150,000, right? And so this kind of the math that I want you to. So if I just, so it's gonna look like 900. That's what you get upfront divided by this, which is 6x. Okay, so you are able to put 6-figure in your marketing and make on the back end almost 7-figure. And that's really what I want you to have in mind when it comes to thinking about how to invest in paid media. I want you to realize that there's going to be a direct correlation between how much you invest and how much you're able to make on the back end. So, and have also some realistic expectations. So if you want this number of calls scheduled, you need to be willing to invest what's required to get there. So that's really the very first principle that we work our client through, and we reverse engineer. Okay, you want to have this level of revenue, how much is going to be required to be put behind the scenes? So for instance, you might say, okay, Joly, you know what? I don't want $900,000 in a month. I want just $400,000 in a month. So then it's going to look like, okay, we're going to divide all of this number by 2. And instead of investing $150,000 on paid ads, you'll only invest $75,000 on paid ads, for instance. You see how the math works, right? So that's the very first principle. Know your numbers, because the better you are at understanding how those things play together and how they look like, the more money you're gonna make. Now, one of the biggest pitfalls that I want you to avoid doing is trying to optimize things that are not supposed to be optimized. So one of the biggest pitfalls is I see business owners trying to get call schedule at $30, $50, and I think, oh my God, the lower, we just don't want to spend that much on ads. Now, I want to caution you from the fact that if you get call schedule at an extremely low cost, you might end up with a lot of tire kicker. You might end up with people that don't show up, or they show up and they have no money to invest. If you really want to attract people that can invest in your high ticket program, you need to be willing to invest. Just wanted to caution you of that, because that's kind of a pitfall which I tend to see happening. Now, beyond the math, the second thing that you actually want to think about is, how does your funnel looks like? Now, I'm going to share with you again one of the biggest pitfalls that I see happen quite often, which looks like this. So we looked at the math, and let's look at the funnel, right? The funnel structure. So most business owner or most market advertiser out there are running their funnel in a way where they have the ads, right? And from the ads, people are going to go to an opt-in page. From the opt-in page, they have a VSL page. From the VSL, they have an application page. From the application page, they have a scheduling page. And then they have a thank you page. And from the thank you page, then the call happens. And then money is made. Okay. Now, this is the reason why this is not the most optimal way to structure your sales funnel. It's going to make you lose a lot of money. Is that you have your prospect jump through a lot of hoops before they even get on the call with you or with your team. And what happens is that they're gonna, before they even get here, you're gonna see a very high cost per call booked. You're gonna see a very high cost per application submitted, and because most of them are going to fall through the cracks. There are just too many steps, and people's attention span is shorter and shorter. So what we do instead to help our client attract higher quality leads without spending a fortune on ads while still being really highly profitable is to shorten drastically this process. So how it looks like for us is just we're gonna have people that just take this one instead. So from the ads, what we do is we send them directly to the VSL page. We don't have a lot of, we remove this one. And then from the VSL page, we send them to the scheduling page. Now, what we do differently here is that on the scheduling page, we have the form embedded in the scheduling page. So as they are about to schedule a call, they have to answer those questions strategically. Now, another pitfall when it comes to the application page is that I see a lot of founders just have a ton of questions. They see what the competitor is doing and they just think, okay, let's just do the same thing. Let's just swipe and funnel hack their questions, right? That's how you end up losing a lot of money because you have no clue how the process looks like, and you want to create a strategy that's aligned with your goal specifically and what's optimized to make sure you have the highest profitability and the highest peace of mind. That's always what I have in mind when I think through a funnel strategy and an ad funnel process, right? And so in this case specifically, our form is embedded, our application form is embedded on our scheduling page because we are very strategic in terms of which question we ask. So we are able to really reduce drastically how many questions we ask to limit drop off while also increasing the filtering while also adjusting for the quality of the leads. And from the scheduling page, they go to the thank you page, and we have some things that we do on the thank you page to make sure that they actually you build your authority, they are sold into what you do, and they show up to the call already pre-sold, right? That's how it looked like. So just by changing, so you can see that we have two steps that we've removed from this funnel. So this will be the old way and this is the new way. And by changing these two things, it makes a huge difference in terms of cost per acquisition that you're gonna have, and also just how fast the buying cycle is going to be for from someone going from not knowing who you are to buying from you. Now, do this. I really challenge you. I really invite you to do this for the next 30 days. Just if you are like, oh my God, Joly, I'm not sure if I want to risk this, I challenge you to have another campaign that you can run both campaigns simultaneously, where you have one campaign that's really focused on this old funnel if that's what you're currently doing, and have another one that you just do for testing purposes. With this structure instead, you're gonna see that you can have lower cost per acquisition but also higher quality of lead, and you get traction a whole lot faster coming through your funnel. Now, the third thing that you want to have in mind when it comes to optimizing your funnel to make more is to think about your calls, right? So the way in which you want to structure your call is really, we've had one client recently that literally saw a 2.5x higher revenue just by changing the way in which he was structuring his call. So what he was doing was to have two call closes, right? People will come in, they will get on the call with a setter and have those filtering question answers, and then he will then get them on a call with a closer. Now, again, that was adding a lot of friction. So what we advised him to do was, you know what, instead of having them go through two calls, so if I to show you how it looked like. So they had here call one, and then after call one, it was call two. And people were only shown the offer on call two. So again, his funnel was even more lengthy because he was in a mastermind and he was told that, okay, that's the way you need to structure his funnel. He had been doing it for years. And we're just like, okay, have you ever considered just removing one of the call and having one call instead? Because what we notice is that looking at the numbers and the data, we realize that people that will get on the first call were pumped, they were excited, and they'll need someone to wait 2 to 3 days before they will get on the second call. And by then they will have, look at competitor, change their mind, had a lot of questions, objection, and just, disappear, fall through the crack. And so we advise him to just remove one of the call and go on one call instead. And he literally almost 3x his cash collected. So that really comes back again to have a frictionless funnel that's really going to tend to make you a lot more money. Now, the third thing that I want you to think about when it comes to really optimizing your sales funnel and getting more qualified call schedule is think about, we implement what we call our value overload formula. Now, what's that? The value overload formula comes from the principle that we live in a trust recession, which means that people have the trust, which is at all-time low. They don't trust what they see online. We have AI, we have deep fakes. So they're like, okay, is this actually a real person? Can I really trust this company? Are they legit? Or are they gonna burn me like the last coach, the last consultant, the last business did? And that's the reason why we really want to have this value overload formula that's designed not only to increase your authority, but also have a better positioning where by when a prospect gets on a call with you or your sales team, they are already pre-sold on who you are. And that's something that we've just been doing for years, and it still works beautifully. It works even better now in 2025 and beyond, in 2026 as well, because people are even more skeptical. And how it looks like specifically is before someone schedules a call with you, you want them to be sold on who you are and what you do and why you do what you do. And that's not something that's going to happen by chance. That's something that we can literally engineer so that they're like, okay, my God, I have a feeling that I know this person. And just to give you in a nutshell how it looks like, so this our third pillar, right? This value overload formula. It's gonna look like this. So you have your ads, and you have your funnel. Let's just call it the funnel, right? And here you have your call, and you have cash, right? If everything goes well, if your sales team does a good job. And what we do here at the ads level, we start with some awareness type of campaign where we really show them video content about you, your story, what you do, what that makes you unique, why you got started. And we also answer some of their pain points. We really give them value. So that's the first step of the funnel. Now, from the awareness, we go on to the conversion campaign. This conversion campaign is where we ask them to go on the funnel and watch the VSL, schedule the call, or what have you, right? So when they get on the funnel and watch your VSL, they'll already know you. They don't go from an image ad to your VSL. No, they go from several. Here on this awareness campaign, we like to deploy anywhere from 20 to 30 videos that are just value driven, right? And then from those, we then target them with our conversion campaign. That's with the clear call to action to go ahead and sign up and schedule a call. From the conversion campaign, they land on your VSL, they schedule a call. And once they do, a couple of things are going to happen. They're going to either schedule a call, and if they show up, that's amazing. The sales team does its job and closes them. Now, between the moment in which a call is scheduled and the moment in which the call happens, we have this type of limbo zone. And that's where a lot of business owners drop the ball. So what we do here is really where we want to overload them with value. And that's going to look like emails. It's going to look like SMS. It's going to look like a targeting ad. And the idea here is really for us to make sure that you are top of mind and they show up on the call already pre-sold on why they should work with you, right? And these emails, we would like to send at least email 2 or 3 times a day, depending on your email domain, really health and deliverability, but minimum 2 times a day, morning and evening. We like to send emails. We like to send SMS once a day in the morning, like, hey, sending them value. And we also like to have targeting ads. Now, every single one of these assets have a different purpose. There are different touch points because, again, for someone to go from stranger to buying from you, they need to feel like they know you and they trust you and they like you and they can actually invest their money with you. And what a lot of business owner expect they accept this, the sales team to do is just have like a stranger and after a 45-minute call turn them into client. Now they can do that, but in this economy, it's getting harder and harder. That's why your marketing really needs to take the lead and really pre-frame and pre-sell your prospects before they ever get on a call with you, right? And the way in which you do that is by sending those emails. Now you're gonna ask me occasionally, what are those emails supposed to contain? Excellent question. So these emails are really going to be packed with answer to the frequently asked questions, answers to their objections. You want to listen to your sales team recording on, ask your sales team to really list out all of the objections that they get typically when they're on the call with the prospect, and you want to address those objections before they even pop up, because you know, okay, those are typically the one coming on the calls. You also want to have a targeting ad that showcase success stories, testimonials, you know, what people had to say about you, your own story again, why you got started, and why your mission is so close to your heart. All of those assets are what we call a sales asset, and they're really designed to help you shorten the sales cycle. Now, the reason why we have multiple touch point, and we want it to happen in this window of time between when the call is scheduled and when the call is supposed to happen, because that's when your prospects are the hottest. If just schedule a call, they're on a high, and they are also a little bit anxious. Okay, am I going to be sold? Is this the viable is this a trustworthy company, and other things? So that's really what you want to be. Everything they see on the feed, everything they see on the email, when they pick up the phone, they see your name, right? And you might think, oh my God, I'm gonna overwhelm them. I'm gonna it's too much. It's not like it's literally not too much, because again, remember that when you send 2 emails a day, not all of your posts are going to see all of the 2 emails. Some of them are going to just see one of the emails, right? So again, when you run your targeting ad, and when you're looking at the targeting ad here, we like to run anywhere from, like to have at least 30 pieces of content, ideally between 50 to 30 pieces of content, just value dropping. You're really overwhelming them with your face, your name, your brands, and why they should choose you. So that when they get on the call, it's a no-brainer. Okay. And of course, if they get on the call and for some whatever reason they don't purchase, we have other targeting ad that's with a specific messaging regarding that. But this is a huge part of the puzzle that allow our client not just to have those calls scheduled, but have a higher show rate on the call. Because having a call schedule is one step, but actually getting them to show up on the call is another different. It's another beast by it's in itself. And the last thing that you want, the fourth thing that you want to have in mind when it comes to increasing your getting more calls scheduled that show up, actually is thinking about how you structure your follow-up process. Now, something that we've been testing out recently is having our client, instead of them sending just emails, again, sending SMS, and you can do that using a software like Twilio or Go High Level, you know, to have those SMS send, or you can even ask your sales team to use WhatsApp. We've found out actually using WhatsApp is incredible, because people are always checking their WhatsApp because that's sharing there with their family and their friends. So you have a higher likelihood of landing, you know, of them seeing your message and actually replying. So WhatsApp, or even using your iMessage, just messaging their phone like a friend would. Those things are really going to help you build that likeness, build that trustworthiness before they get on the call. Something to have in mind as well is your setters, your closer or yourself, if you're the one taking the call, sending them a video selfie saying, hey, I've seen that you've scheduled a call. I'm excited to be chatting with you in a couple of hours, a couple of minutes. See you soon, you know, because people feel bad, canceling on a call if they've seen someone behind the call. If they say, okay, I'm going to chat tomorrow afternoon with John from X company, right? If John has sent them the video message, it feels more personal. It feels like, okay, these guys actually care. It's not just an automated bot, sending me a message. It's actually a real human being behind this interaction. And something which I want you to realize is that we live in an automation age, and people want to have clones and duplicate themselves and all the things. And I'm all for AI. I love AI. I use it daily on in the agency. But something which I want you to keep in mind is that when you are selling a high ticket service, your client expects to be treated like a human being. They expect a high touch, a high quality of service. It's like when you go to a 5-star restaurant, you expect just the waiter to pull off your jacket and to maybe help you with pouring the wine. And you expect that VIP treatment because you've paid for a premium experience. And it's the same for your person. If they are paying, if you expect them to pay 10,000, 30,000, 40,000 to 50,000 to work with you, you want to invest in having them and showing them a quality of experience before they even get on the call with you. Because again, once they get on the call with you, they're going to be like, wow, I'm already in awe by the flow of this process. I want to work with these guys. All of those things play a huge role when it really comes to converting more of your person and getting more of them on the call. So buy your team iPhones if you have to. Invest into high quality, software to make the process as seamless as possible. Don't try to cut corners, because the more you invest, the better result you're gonna get and the faster result you're gonna get on the back end. So those are the 4 pillars that we build on when it comes to helping our client get anywhere from 30 to 40 calls scheduled every single day, and even got upwards to 50 calls scheduled. And those actually show up on the call and they're excited to move forward and close. And that's how we help our client get to those $500,000 amount. $1 million amount. Why? Because we have a proven system that we deploy in the company over and over again to help them, to propel them to the next level. So if you if you want us to come in, if you want me and my team to come in your business and help you really scale in a way that's predictable and sustainable, make sure to schedule your revenue growth audit. We're gonna come in, we're gonna have a chat with you and see if there's a fit. If there is, we're gonna invite you to sign, to join the team and to have us come in either as consultant and really looking at what your team is doing to keep them accountable of producing at a higher level, or we can actually come in and be hands-on and actually building this entire system and implementing it so that your revenue can scale in a way that's smoothless, that's peaceful, that's profitable, without you having to do more of the heavy lifting. Now, reminder is that scale is not luck. Scale really comes down to a formula. And once you have all of the ingredients of the recipe, you're gonna have a delicious dish. But again, so that's the reason why I wanted to record this video for you, so that you are clear on what's required. Because when I speak with business owners, typically it's that I'm looking at that competitor and I don't understand why they're making so much money than me, and I don't know, they started 2 years after me. What's happening there? And what's happening is that those competitors actually are investing at a higher level than you. They're trusting themselves at a higher level than you are probably doing at the moment. So my invite to you is really tighten up what you have to tighten up and be ready to scale at a higher level. So if you got value from this episode, make sure to subscribe, leave us a review. 5-star review always make my heart sing, and it really motivate me and the team to keep on producing amazing content for you. And yeah, any question that you've got, let me know in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next episode.